And yeah, just get super comfortable and just take a few really sacred breaths in through the nose. And exhale with a nice big sigh out through an open mouth. Ah. A few sacred breaths in, just feeling the air traveling up through the nostrils, into the throat and into the lungs. And then exhaling, just watching the breath exit the body from the lungs, up through the trachea, and out through either the nose or the mouth, feeling the warmth on its way out and the cool air on its way in. Refreshing yourself, renewing yourself on every inhale, and relaxing on every exhale, softening on every exhale. The more relaxed we are, the more present we are actually. The more relaxed we are, the more calm our nervous system, and the more we can take in, and the better we can express. So just a simple breathing activity like this can actually center you just any time of day, whenever you need to. A little tip to take away already, a little gift. Deep breath in, exhale, softening into the chair or the bed or the yoga mat or whatever it is that you're sitting on. Perhaps you're outdoors. And then gently in your own time, coming back into the space, just rub your hands together and come back to this Facebook Live. Welcome. Welcome, beloved. Welcome, beloveds. Beloveds to those who might come along later and watch the replay. I'm here to share some important information. My name is Rosalind, and I'm an intuitive healer and a spiritual awakening teacher. And I'm beginning to really step into that role because it's important. It's important to share what I have to share. And I'm here today to spend some time sharing some important information on why so many of us feel numb and empty on the inside, lost in this great world that we live in, right? Directionless, purposeless, a bit deadened inside. And I know that feeling only too well. I was like that for many years of my life. And I can safely say that I'm out of that now, but I know that many are still battling with this. And it's the work that I was born to do is to help you come home to yourself. The work that I was born to do is to realign you with your higher self. Because when we are connected with our higher self, there is no better place to be. It feels like home. And I think a lot of us yearn for that feeling of being home. I did for many, many years. I felt utterly homesick, and yet I was at home with my parents growing up. And I would say to my mum, I feel so homesick. I don't know why. And my mum couldn't help me. She didn't understand. It was years and years, decades later, that I understood that homesick feeling. It wasn't for any particular place or person, no country or house or home. It was for me. I was homesick for me because I hadn't made the connection yet. And what is at the root of feeling numb and empty and deadened inside, purposeless in life, those awful moments when you feel like life has no meaning, is actually a lack of connection with ourselves. That's the call. Those uncomfortable feelings are actually calling you into action, into a certain type of action that's going to help you reconnect with your higher self. And then you will feel at home. And it is a journey. It takes some time to do that. It takes practices. And I'm here to share a few of those to get you started today. Oh, welcome, Leah. It's lovely to have you here. Hi, love. I'm just seeing you all joining. Lovely to have you. Thank you for joining. So, I'd love to do just a little poll. I'm not going to do it technologically. I know there's an opportunity here to do some poll on a Facebook Live, but if you could just share in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being utterly numb and deadened inside, and those feelings of just like, what's life all about? This just doesn't feel like it has any meaning, and just feeling lost and homesick. To 10, which of course is feeling alive, connected, vibrant, know what you want, know where to go, have clarity of vision, and feeling like you've really connected with your purpose and are living it. So perhaps you could share in the comments, where are you on the scale from 1 to 10? From numb at 1 to alive at 10. And I know that there'll be days when you feel more alive, but in general, if you can give just a general idea of where you're at on that scale, that would help me understand a little bit better where you're at. Thank you. I know that, for example, I have days when I can slide below a 5, but with the consciousness that I've developed over the years, oh, lovely, thanks, Diane, a 7, that's quite a good score, I like that. That means you're well on your way, yeah? But yes, it could be more connected, we could feel more connected. And the good news is that actually there's always more connection, there's always a deeper connection to make. So we're not really aiming here for some ultimate goal. We're unfolding and unfolding all the time, right? And 7 is a beautiful number, yes. Generally, I'm around the same sort of number, yes. Today, I love that, 6 to 7 today. Yes, and it varies, right? Some days I slide under 5, and some days I feel absolutely on it, connected. And when you do, the feeling is so different, right? We do feel full of vitality. We feel strong and confident. All of the things that we look for, that we want to develop in ourselves, actually come from being connected. That lovely feeling of, yes, I can conquer the world, that comes when we're connected, yeah. It's not something that we can fake. Well, a lot of us do spend time faking it, and sometimes we have to, right? But that real confident feeling is when we are genuinely connected to our higher selves, which is where we really reside. It's who we really are, yeah. But we spend a lot of our time not being who we really are, not being home, where we truly reside. So let's begin to fix that today, right? Let's begin to take those steps. Yes, absolutely. I hear you strongly disliking pretending. Yes, it feels horrible, right? It feels disconnected, and it feels almost like there's interference, yeah, in that lovely connection that we could have, that bond that we need to make. And it's a bond that we need to cultivate. It doesn't just happen overnight. The journey is one of reconnecting, and actually it's a beautiful journey. It's a journey with ups and downs, of course, when you'll have days when you just feel completely like, I can't do this, it's not going to work. But you pick yourself up by your own bootstraps the following day, and you keep walking in that direction. And I promise you that when you get there, it feels good. I spent so many years of my life as a younger woman lacking deeply in confidence. I remember my cousin saying to me years ago, you have so much going for you. I can't understand why you're so lacking in confidence. And I couldn't understand either. But it's because in those days, I felt empty. I had absolutely zero sense of self. I didn't know even that there was a self. I just had my focus outwards. Everything was about looking outwards at what was going on around me. And I never even thought to turn the lens inwards and pay attention to me. How crazy is that, right? But actually, I think that a lot of the craziness out there in the world is due to this. It's due to the fact that we haven't yet turned the lens inwards and paid attention, just had a look, just gotten curious about, could there be something there? Could there be something there? And if there is, I wonder what it is. That kind of curiosity, which is open energy, it's energy that is open to receive the unknown, is a very healthy place to be. And that's actually a very beautiful step 1 to take, to quite literally just sit with yourself and be present with just you and be curious. Diane's saying being disconnected is awful, but sometimes it's difficult to connect to our true self. I totally get it. And that's my work. That's why I'm here today. I know how difficult it can be. Yeah. But I feel like I've done it the hard way. And I think our consciousness is accelerating more and more every day. And I think we're more able to connect more easily nowadays. And I'm here to help. That's my work, to act as a guide, to hold your hand. Because for me, reconnecting initially was like walking through a dark tunnel with no light at the end of it. I didn't even really know that I was walking through the tunnel. It was literally the blind me leading the blind, literally like that. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't really even know that I was looking. I just knew that something was missing. I didn't know what or how. So I've kind of like done the dirty work, if you like, of crawling through the darkness, unaware of what I was doing or what I was even looking for. Now there are more and more of us on the planet who are awakened. I'm not fully awakened. It's constantly a work in progress, right? But I'm awakened enough to know where I've been, where I am now, and have some idea of where I'm headed. And I'm sure there are lots more beautiful, magical treasures available to me and to all of us as we just keep awakening to more and more of who we are. Who we are is a constant unfolding of divinity, of love, of light, of wisdom, of all kinds of glorious gifts. But we're not used to seeing ourselves like that, right? We just, oh no, that can't be me. That it's arrogant to think of myself like that. You know, we all have our sort of blocks. But what if everybody on this planet was walking in their greatness, right? What a beautiful place this would be. And I want to turn this planet into something that looks a bit like that. Heaven on earth, with gods and goddesses walking the earth, right? We're a long way off, but who knows, with the acceleration of consciousness, perhaps it's not so far. And each one of us must do our work. And the work is a beautiful journey. And I invite you to take the first step onto that beautiful journey. It's a glorious journey that is worth taking because you discover yourself. What's it like, right, to get to the end of your life and not have discovered yourself? To still feel like that empty vessel, numb and deadened inside. That would be a big regret of mine if I got to my deathbed and I was like, I still don't know why I'm here, who I am, what was the purpose of it all. That's a horrible place to be. So let's start now, right, and take those first steps. So thank you for sharing where you are. There's an average of 6 to 7 in the comments, which is fairly high actually. And I'm sure that there are a lot of others who may see the replay of this video who might feel very numb and very deadened inside. So may I just reassure you, first of all, that I know what it's like. I have absolutely been there. And I promise you that there is a way out. I'm living proof of it. And I'm here to help you out of that deadened place, which is horrible to be in. Okay, so what's really going on then? Why do we feel so deadened inside? It's because a connection is missing. Something is missing, and it's a connection. Yeah? You know, when you meet someone and you start to develop a relationship with them, that energetically is making a connection. You know, you're making a conscious connection, maybe by just simply saying hello. That is a connection. Yeah. So we need to make that connection. We need to quite literally plug that electrical wire back into its socket. I use this as representative of how it can be. What happens when we're deadened inside and feel empty and numb to life, yeah, is a little bit like an electrical wire unplugged. It's missing its source. It's disconnected from its source. And the work is to reconnect. And it can start just as we start our relationships or make new friendships with a hello. How are you? That kind of connection, a plugging back in, an interest and an engagement in something else, in another, in a friendship, for example, And in this case, an interest and an engagement, your choice of what kind of engagement you want to make it, into yourself. It's striking up a connection. It's plugging back in. And we have to consciously choose how we're going to do that. And we've got to do it. To start feeling the electricity, if you like, coming back through that wire and sparking up, our life again. It's very like that, actually. When we are disconnected from source, we're actually disconnected, and by source I mean ourselves. We're actually disconnected from a life force. That's why when we're deadened inside, we feel exhausted all the time. It's exhausting. Life is a struggle, right? You feel like you're pushing a great big boulder up a steep hill. It's because we don't have our natural fuel on board. Our natural fuel is light, and light sparks up love. This is the essence of who we are. Yeah? And I know that at times it's difficult to hear that. It's like, me, love, is that really what I'm made of? Yeah? But as you awaken, as you journey along the awakening path, the reconnecting path to yourself, you become more and more aware of the fact that you are indeed love. How beautiful is that, right? How exciting is that? That's worth buying a ticket, to get to that destination, right? And it's not really a destination. It's an unfolding. It's a shedding, actually, of what isn't really who we are. But initially, we need to make that connection. And then we can start shedding. Then we can start removing the blinkers. And we start to get clear of, actually, gosh, that isn't me. That mask, as you were saying, Leah, isn't me. That doesn't resonate with me. That belief doesn't resonate with me. And things start to fall away, literally, energetically. And you begin to become clear. It's like all these layers of blinkers that we've had, they could go on for forever. Boom, 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 boom. They start to go. They start to drop off. And you begin to, it's like a birthing, actually. It's really beautiful. You begin to become aware of, oh gosh, actually, yeah, perhaps this is who I am. Yeah. And you start to feel more of who you are and get a greater sense of who you are. And it starts with a simple connection. And if I can rewind a little bit to before that connection, it starts with willingness. It starts with willingness to perhaps just sit in deep stillness and just be in deep stillness with your focus within and just an inner gaze, gazing within. And the key here is with no expectation. Expectations can take us this way and that way, and they'll send our energy off looking for things. Ooh, it probably looks like this or that, or it's going to be this or that size or this size. When we look within, initially, it can be quite frustrating, actually, because it's like, there's nothing there, and you can't quite feel anything, because we're going, remember, from numbness to an unknown in a way. So you may initially, in those first moments of practicing sitting in stillness with yourself, just feel numbness. But that's a little key. You are actually feeling the numbness. So you are beginning to feel something. You with me? Instead of feeling numb and not feeling anything at all, you're now becoming aware that, I don't feel anything. And so in a way, not feeling anything is you getting a sense of something, actually, if that makes any sense. And that's a good place to start. So move into this with real patience and gentleness with yourself. Allow yourself to just be and let whatever is within surface. And if there's nothing on that day that's going to surface for whatever reason, then allow yourself to be with the emptiness. A lot of us carry around the numbness and the emptiness, and we just go through life numb and empty. But sitting with it and acknowledging it and being with it, actually, is a beautiful place to be. It's the beginning of the sensing of what's in there. Yeah. And this develops over time. More things will surface over time. And I've got some practices that I'd love to share with you, which I'll tell you about at the end. Yeah? Okay, so let me have a little look at my notes. So yes, it's really important to point out actually that a lot of the symptoms of not being connected with ourselves are things like fear, feeling really lacking in confidence. Anxiety is a big one. Yeah. And in the long term, this can get really uncomfortable. It can turn into depression. Yeah. Deep feelings of loneliness. Yeah, I know this. I've been there, and it feels horrible. Sometimes anxiety, certain types of anxiety, are a call to action. They're a call to look within and to reconnect, yeah, and to begin to recreate your life connected to yourself, yeah, following your own inner guidance once you are connected. So a lot of the fears as well, you when you're disconnected, you feel like, I think I put it in a post recently on Facebook, like a buoy just bobbing up and down on the sea, one of those plastic buoys that signal deep areas of water or whatever, or protect boats. One of them just afloat in the sea, and you're literally at the mercy of the sea, and you've got this great depth beneath you. That's scary, right? Yeah, it can be very frightening to be disconnected, and there's so much fear on the planet. There's so much anxiety on the planet now, and there's so much depression that I do wonder whether underlying all of this, there is a deep call to reconnect with ourselves and to take this journey within. Yeah. Instead of relying on temporary material comforts, which they can help, yeah, but they're not going to solve the problem at its cause, at its root cause. At its root cause, we have to solve it with something sustainable, something that we can take with us wherever we go, something that we can actually tap into when we're feeling anxious. Okay, I'm feeling anxious, so in I go, in I go. I'm just going to be inside within me. And when you have that connection, before you know it, the anxiety will have filtered away, and you'll have a bit more clarity as to how to move forward. So this is a really important call to action. I, in the past, had anxiety every night over many years, and I knew that I was actually resisting stepping into doing the work that I was born to do, which I am now proud to say I am doing. And it does take overcoming some fears. When we step into living our purpose, we are actually stepping into something that is greater than us. And it is going to require stretching out of your comfort zone. That is part of the journey. It is part of the journey. It's a beautiful part of the journey. But at first it feels like, oh my God, I can't do this. This is going to just kill me. It's scary. But the more you step into yourself, the more you become yourself, the more you live yourself, the greater joy is available to you, the greater happiness, the better your relationships with everybody, the less you find yourself competing with others. I miss competition. I used to compete with everybody. The grass was always greener on the other side. Somebody else had a better life than me. It was a horrible place to be. I hated my life. I hated myself. All of those things, they filter away as you journey into becoming yourself. Yeah. And I look back now and I think, God, how did I even survive so many years like that, right? And now I can safely say that I am way more confident, much stronger inside, much more present in my life. And when life throws me those challenges, which we're all going to get, right? I mean, that's life. You're going to get challenges, you're going to get wonderful moments, and then you're going to get challenges. But I see them as a calling to step into an even greater, even stronger version of myself. I may cower for a moment or two, because actually it is important to feel the rawness of the pain in those moments. Otherwise, the challenge isn't great enough. But in that rawness, I quickly come out of it and I go, okay, I'm ready for another breakthrough. Deep breath, take the plunge, woo, here I go, right? And that is part of the journey as well. And it becomes easier as you go along. Some of the some of the challenges become greater, but with more awareness, with greater awareness, you can ride those deeper, bigger waves of life with greater skill, with greater mastery. So what's at the other end of the connection is joy, confidence, clarity of vision, a sense of your purpose. Perhaps that's what I'm here to do in this lifetime. Yeah. A big signpost for what you are here to do is what you love doing, what you're excited to do. But sometimes we can't even get a sense of that excitement if we're not connected, if we're still in that ghastly, numb, empty, dead space, right? The dead zone, you could call it, yeah? And so we don't even feel excited because we lack in motivation. We're very frightened there. So we need to take those small steps to reconnect. Okay, so let's see. I've got all sorts of scribbled notes here. One day I'll have it all sort of on some beautiful PowerPoint. Okay, so yes, there are some practical steps. I've mentioned a few that we can take to begin to reconnect. The first one is to quite simply sit in stillness, as I mentioned. Breathe into yourself, follow your breath inwards, and be still and expect nothing. Just be for as long as you can. I know the mind can be a little monkey playing around there, yeah. And when you become aware of that, you just come back to your breath. It's like a meditation, really, yeah? With the purpose of just getting a greater sense of yourself. You can set yourself the intention of, you know what, I'm here, I'm going to sit still because I want to get a greater sense of myself. Yeah? And I have a guided audio which I can share with you if you'd like. I'll share more about that later. If you'd like to get a little bit more guidance on that and follow a guided visualization for that. The second one is to start a conversation. I'll never forget when I was first invited to do this in my early 30s. And I couldn't believe that I got an answer. My first conversation with my inner self, my higher self, was a question, actually. And perhaps you'd like to start as well yourself with a question. Yeah. My question was, can you hear me? Yeah. And I literally sat there waiting. I was absolutely determined not to stick an answer in there, but I waited for an answer, and I waited some time. I sort of sat there. I'd said it once. I wasn't going to say it again. I'd sent the question out. Can you hear me? And eventually, I heard an answer. I heard, can you hear me? Like an echo, right? The same question came straight back to me. So I answered. And I said, yes, I can hear you. And the answer to that was, well, then you're listening. That is the connection. I had made a connection. I had connected with myself. So it can be as simple as a question. I love it. You're having a laugh at my expense, right? How simple is it, right? But how beautiful is it to get an answer? And one of the things that's missing in the equation here is listening. Listening. Being patient for the answer. And in that patience, you're really opening yourself up to hear something in return. Yeah. This was 26 years ago when I first heard a voice, something that said something back to me. I was like, wow, this is cool. So I was on my way. And then I entered into slightly longer and deeper inner dialogue. Inner dialogue can be great fun. You're just chatting away with yourself. And a lot of us have grown up to be told that it's madness to talk to yourself. Well, I'd like to rectify that here and now if it hasn't already. It's madness not to talk to yourself, thank you very much. It's really important to talk to ourselves. And what I ended up doing was journaling my inner dialogue. because it actually is incredibly helpful to then look back on your journal and read the answers that I would get to my questions from, months back and then years back. I was like, wow, my higher self is really wise. And this is the beginning of the beauty of the journey. You begin to think, cool, I'm actually kind of cool. I actually kind of love my higher self. And then you remember that your higher self is you. And that's really when you feel home with yourself. When you begin to realize that you are a wise, beautiful being with the answers to all of your questions. And you begin to fall in love with yourself. That's a profound connection. That's well on your way of the journey home to yourself. I'm hearing, Leah, I love talking to myself. Yes, and journaling is the best thing ever. Exactly, yes. So thanks for confirming that, yeah. Journaling is how you can see it reflected back. You can read your conversations. Oh, hi, lovely to have you here, Annabelle, as well. That's the foundation of your work, exactly. Yeah. This is the foundation of the work to come home to ourselves. And actually, eventually, once we've journeyed far enough within, you actually become your higher self. You're no longer living a life where you're in dialogue. You're actually expressing your higher self. You are being your higher self. And I can safely say that there's a lot of time when I am being my higher self. I slip in and slip out of it. And I do still enter into dialogue and things like that as well when I lose a sense of self, because it can happen. But you know what to do, right? And we just keep coming home, keep coming home, keep coming home to ourselves. So if you fall into the trough of anxiety or fear or just like overwhelm or whatever it is, you know that you have perhaps unplugged. So plug back in other words, engage, reconnect, maybe enter into dialogue, whatever it is, yeah, to just come back home to yourself. And it'll happen very quickly. And some of the best conversations, well, in fact, not some of the best conversations I have ever had are with my higher self. And I get my own sense of humor better than anybody else's, of course. So I have a real laugh. My higher self cracks really funny jokes and I get to really laugh. So you get to be happy. You get to laugh. So I hope I'm tempting you all to take the journey, because this is the journey and it's not a return journey. It's a one ticket journey, outward bound, or I should rectify that. I'll rephrase that, inward bound. It's not an outbound journey, right? It's an inbound journey. Yeah. Home. And when we're home, we don't leave. We live from that place. And there are so many treasures there. I have come across all kinds of beautiful treasures, not least greater confidence, greater self-love, greater clarity, greater wisdom. I'm loving your comments. But just feeling home, that sense of like feeling safer in the world, yeah, because it can be quite scary being that boy bobbing along on a big ocean, right? With no anchor and no sense of direction. It can feel very scary out there. The safest place to go, the place where we feel safest is home, and it's within. Yeah. All kinds of gifts come. I'm just thinking as well of our relationships. Our relationships change. When your relationship with yourself changes and becomes one of self-love, yeah, your relationships outside of yourself change. You are less needy of the other because you've got a lot more on board, yeah, to be able to enjoy the other more and depend less on them. And you enter into a beautiful relationship of interdependence. Yeah? We are both intertwined in a beautiful relationship where there's no sort of like dragging the other this way or that way, and no unhealthy expectations or power struggles or the kind of things we can enter into in relationships when we're not fully on board with ourselves. Okay, now let me have a look at my scroll. Yes. So, yes, I've written a list of things here actually. I've touched upon some of them already of what it feels like, what it looks like, yeah, to be connected. Yeah. The first thing actually that comes is a sense of presence. It's like, gosh, I'm actually here. I actually exist. Because in that dead and numb, empty space, you don't even feel like you exist. And that can be very scary. But when you start to reconnect, it's like, whoa, gosh, I am actually here. And that feels good. Energetically, you are quite literally coming into your body, actually. You're coming back into your body. Because sometimes what happens when we're not connected with ourselves, our energy is actually not quite centered in our body, which is why centering activities and breathing and coming into stillness is actually really important, because energetically, you're just coming back into the body. Yeah? You're anchoring back home. Because when we're in the deadened space, you kind of don't want to be here. It can get really dark. That depression can lead to, at times, suicidal thoughts. And I've been there, I've had them. But I knew that I would never do that, because how could I do that to my husband, my daughter, my family, myself? But they do happen. Those thoughts, that sort of death wish, can occur. And it's a very dangerous place to be. So it is very important to begin the journey home to your higher self, to yourself, really. Make that connection. And so, yes, you begin to feel like, whoa, I'm actually here. It's not so bad after all. Because when you start to get that sense of presence about yourself, alongside that comes a different kind of vision. You kind of see better. Because you're more anchored in your body energetically, you can actually see more clearly. And you feel sort of more able to move and maneuver in life. Yeah. You certainly have more clarity, yes. You get also the opportunity to feel more confident and as a result, more decisive. You're able to take decisions with a greater sense of confidence, with greater clarity. Ah, yeah, actually, that's what I want, rather than the dreadful indecision that exists in that numb and empty space, where you're like, because you haven't got a sense of self, you don't really know what you want, because you don't know who you are. You haven't developed that relationship with yourself, right? So it does take getting to know oneself to actually then be able to know what you want, right? It's really beautiful. It's really beautiful to know what you want. And it's even more beautiful to start living like that, to start giving yourself what you want. And when, of course, you are connected with yourself, you feel stronger, more confident, so you are braver to perhaps give yourself what you want. What I've wanted all my life is to do this kind of work. And I felt terrified about doing it, years back, and it's taken me a long time to get here. But with greater connection with myself, with more of me on board, with more self-love on board, I'm like, you know what? I can do this. I can do this. And it's a gift to myself. So what you're doing now is you're witnessing me having stretched out of my comfort zone into doing what I love doing. I know what I want to do. I know what I want to be. I know what I want to give to myself. And I know what I want to give to the world. And so now I'm giving it because I've grown in strength. I've grown in confidence. And of course, I have days when I feel lacking in confidence. We all do. We're human, right? And then you come into self-nurturing. You figure out what's going on. Something may have happened that triggered it. And you just work through it and step back home again. Yes, you have more drive. You're more driven. In the deadened space, we just lack motivation. And in depression, it's very hard to come out and start doing things and taking action. And I resisted taking action for the longest time because you don't feel like you've got the energy to it. You feel just exhausted from just living, right? But once you've reconnected to your source, once that spark is reignited, you have greater inner drive, you've got greater motivation. There is literally, energetically, a light is being sparked inside you. You're actually embodying greater light in the body, and that actually gives you greater drive, more motivation to do what you want to do, to be with who you want to be. And one that I love is wisdom. For the longest time, I didn't think much of my brain or my intelligence or how I could serve the world. But when I started to reconnect, I started to get these incredible wisdoms coming through. I'm like, whoa, that was pretty cool. That's wise. I don't know why I'm looking outside of myself, actually. You know what I mean. Wisdom is so exciting, yeah. And you get it pouring through you, and all you want to do is share it with the world. Yeah. That's a really nice gift that comes from being connected with yourself. There's nothing but gifts. There's nothing bad there. You move from the shadow into the light. Yeah. You move into the light. And in the light, the energy is high frequency. And in high frequency, you can tap into all kinds of amazing treasures that you can then gift. You receive, you get to receive them first of all, and you get to enjoy them and then share them with the world, if that's what you want to do. Yeah. Chances are you will want to do it, because the quality of the energy that comes through from your higher self is one of service. Why? I bet you know what I'm going to say. Oh, go on, answer the question. I'd love you to answer the question. Why is it, I'll reiterate, and if you could let me know what you think in the comments, why is it that the energy that comes through from our higher selves is one that wants to serve? Why? I'd love to know what you think. There's all kinds of answers. There's no right or wrong. I'm loving reading your comments. Yes, interdependence is lovely. Yes. I'm not sure, there might be a little bit of a delay about getting your comments here. But what do you think it is that's driving the higher self's desire to serve others? You can't escape it in a way, which is why so many of us doing the work that I'm doing want to serve. We serve the world. Yes. The answer is the higher self wants to serve because the higher self is love. Pure, unadulterated, unconditional love. And love just wants to do one thing. It wants to love. Love loves loving. So when you become your higher self, you just want to love. And when you're in that space of wanting to love, my goodness, does life change. Your relationships, first of all, become really precious. Your heart is open. You're actually doing and living the way you were always meant to, with your heart open. The journey is one. Oh, you're not hearing me too loudly, darling. I don't know how to do that. If I turn my volume up, that's not going to make any difference, is it? Shall I get closer? Can you hear me better if I'm closer, my love? Let me know. Yes, divine love. Beautiful, you got it, yes. Yes, I'm going to get a bit closer. I'm using the microphone from my computer. I'm yet to get, in fact, I have one back in Asia, but I'm yet to get one here. Yes, you can hear me good, sweetie, yes. I think it's also sometimes when I get really passionate and I move into the heart space, my voice does get a little bit more sort of soft, because it is a soft space to go to, right? So just to repeat, when the higher self, when you become your higher self, there's an urge to serve. Why? Because you have become love. And love just wants to love. Love loves loving. This is one of my mottos, it's what I say all the time. It just wants to love. That's what it loves doing. It loves loving. And so there's a drive, there's a sort of movement of energy inside you from the heart, yeah, to just share your gifts with the world. And that's when this planet, our world, will become a very different place. Thank you, Annabelle. Thank you. It's so lovely to have you on board. It's so sweet of you to be here. Thank you. So, yeah, and of course, when you start to experience love pouring through you, there's another thing that you simply just can't help doing. And this is one of the best, juiciest bits of all. You can't help but love yourself. You just can't. Because you're experiencing love pouring through you. You're experiencing yourself as love. Love will inevitably love love. And that's when you're really home. When you start to love yourself and you can't fake it. And you'll be the first to know it. It's like, oh, wow. Yeah, and it's a journey and it comes and it goes. And there are days when you will be more in that feeling of self-love than others. And we know it, we're human, right? But there is an experience that happens, yeah, once you've been on this journey for a little while and you've really spent time connected and within, where you're like, wow, I love this. I love my higher self. And oh, I am my higher self. Wow, I love myself. And that is where we all need to be. This is what we all yearn for. We yearn to be in a space where we can genuinely, openly, freely, with no fear, love ourselves. That is our birthright. But through conditioning and all sorts of things that have got in the way, we don't feel like we have the right to, we don't feel like we deserve to, we feel like it's arrogant to love ourselves and all kinds of silliness. All of that is conditioning. All of that is conditioning, I promise you. It's just mistakes, mistaken beliefs. So you can drop them if you like. If you can drop them right now, just acknowledging and knowing that they are mistaken beliefs. Yeah. And I got caught up in those beliefs for years, decades, my whole life. Until as I deepened my connection within, as I spent more and more time with my higher self, and as I became more and more of me, I realized that's just a belief. Surely not. Surely we're so great, so beautiful, such wonderful, miraculous, beautiful beings with so many gifts. The creators of our lives. What's there not to love? I said this recently to a client who's battling with issues of self-hate and guilt about all kinds of things. And I'm looking at her going, what's there not to love? And that stopped her in her tracks. Yes, Annabelle, you're saying silliness sums it up perfectly. It is silly, right? But we don't see it like that until we're kind of like some way along the journey. We look back and go, God, that was a bit silly, right? It is silly. Yeah. It's mistaken, but it can get a hold of us and it can blind us. And so the journey home to ourselves is one of awakening where, these beliefs, these conditions, they just, either we have to work at it or eventually there comes a point on the journey where they kind of slip away. And we get to, so it becomes a little bit more effortless. There may be a few, I've probably still got some as well, underlying hardcore beliefs that I'm not even aware of. They'll pop up. You can bet your bottom dollar that they will pop up because life loves you and it wants you to evolve into a higher version of you all the time. The evolution of humanity is not one of sort of like us looking like extraterrestrials in the future or anything like that. The evolution of humanity is an evolution into love. And then it's an evolution into more love and more love and more love and greater love. Yeah. Something to ponder on in your own time when you're on your own. Something really beautiful to look at, right? that the evolution of humanity is actually an evolution towards love. So when things happen in life, look for the loving way through, perhaps not out, because out implies an escapism. What is being asked of me right now? This challenge that I'm facing, it's calling me into a greater, grander version of me, which is greater and grander love. Yeah. So what choices can I make for myself right now? What would love choose now? What would love do now? And listen. Ask your higher self. Great question, right? To ask your higher self. Who else, right? Who else is going to be able to answer that anyway, right? In we go. Listen. What would love do now? What would you do now, higher self? Yeah. Tell me what to do. I've shouted at my higher self on something, so tell me what to do. It doesn't mind. I don't mind shouting at myself when I'm in a place like that because I need help. Yeah? And I'll get it. You'll get what you ask for from your higher self. Yeah. Okay, so we're coming up to 55 minutes. I don't want to make this any longer than around an hour. Yes. So I just wanted to share that I have a gift for you. It's a gift of love from my higher self, from me to you. And it's sharing 3 first steps that you can take on your journey back home to yourself to reconnect. Yeah, they're very important steps to get a greater sense of yourself, right? Because if we haven't got a sense of ourselves, we don't quite know what we're going to be connecting to, right? So it's important to get some sense, yeah, even if it's just a sort of little inkling of something. Yes, I'm seeing Anima. Yes, I've shouted at Jesus. Yes, exactly. We've all shouted for help, right? We've all cried for help. Gotten a bit dramatic there, haven't we? But our higher selves don't mind because they love us and they want to help us, right? So the gifts are taking you on the 3 initial steps back inwards on your way home. It's like the story of Hansel and Gretel. I often liken the journey home to the journey of Hansel and Gretel, and I'm sure it's symbolic of this as well. I'm offering you 3 breadcrumbs, 3 very specific breadcrumbs that will take you into getting a greater sense of self. Yeah? And this is really important. And then the next steps after that are beginning to connect. So if you'd like to receive these gifts, please send me an email. I shall put my email in the comments here, so hopefully you can see that. Rosalind Heart and Soul at gmail.com. Do let me know if you've received that. And if you could just pop me an email, I will return your email, reply to your email with a link to these gifts. There are 3 of them, and they really help give you a greater sense of who and what you are. Yeah? And then you can start reconnecting. You can start dialoguing. You can start developing this relationship. It's what I call the BFF relationship, best friends forever. This will be the most profound, most beautiful relationship you will ever have. And that's fine, because what it will do is it will help you have even better relationships with everyone in your life. This is the number 1 relationship, the one you have with yourself, the one that needs to be nurtured. Yeah. The person you need to talk to most is you. Yeah. The questions you have, you can ask your higher self. Yeah. So this is a relationship that needs to be developed. Yeah. And as you develop it, you get to know yourself. You get to see those answers and go, gosh, okay, that's who I am. And you get to recognize yourself. And when you recognize yourself, then the next step is becoming yourself. It's like, wow. In fact, the whole journey really is becoming yourself. You are becoming yourself. Straight away from the first steps, actually, you are beginning to become yourself. But there's a point along the journey where you really feel it, right? And it's a much, much nicer place to live your life from. You feel connected. So those ghastly feelings of loneliness and isolation, of fear, and I can't do this, overwhelm, and all of that will disappear. And everything improves from your relationships, yeah, to your health, yeah, to your lifestyle. And you begin to live the life that you've always yearned for. Yeah. You have answers to your questions. Do you have any questions, beloveds? If you'd like to just fire away, if there's anything there that you want to ask me about my journey or yes, thank you. Yes, with you all the way. Right on it, right? There is a point that we get to, right? Because we're all on our own journeys, but there is a point where those journeys merge and you start to feel really connected to other people. And that's beautiful as well. Thank you for all the hearts. It's lovely. You're so lovely. I love you all so much. Thank you for your support. And just know that it's all ready and waiting to support you whenever you're ready as well. So I'm going to begin to sign off now, and just to say, I wish you well on your journey back home to yourselves. I wish you a deep and beautiful connection with your own self, which is really the divine you, the aspect of you that is pure love and pure light. And boy, is it nice to be there. It's breaking a habit, it's breaking an old habit, yeah, of sort of focusing outwards. It's beginning to focus inwards. And I know that we can't do that 24/7, right, because of the lives that we lead. But make it a practice to stay focused, yeah, a regular practice. Weave it into your lives and then make it a lifestyle and then make it your life. Make it you. So pop me an email at rosalindheartandsoul@gmail.com and I'd be more than happy to send you the 3 audios. They are accompanied to music, so they're very nice to sort of sit with and journey with. And I look forward to my next live. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm not seeing any questions because you girls, you're doing similar journeys to me. The girls that are on this call are doing similar journeys to me. We teach the same sort of thing. Pure love and light to you all for your weekend. Thank you, beloved. Such a beautiful soul. All of you. Yeah. But for those of you who are watching this replay, this information may be very, very literally vital. So plug that wire, that electrical wire, back into the socket. In other words, reconnect. Get a sense of yourself first of all, and then begin the dialogue. Begin engaging. That is the reconnecting in action. I love you too. Love you all. Thank you for joining. You rock too. We all rock. Woohoo! How does that Queen song go? We will rock you. We all rock together. We are all beautiful. We are all our higher selves. In other words, we are all love. It takes a little bit of journeying to come into really owning that as our birthright. But I promise you it's the truth. Bye for now. Love you loads. Sorry.